I've had to change the way I live and the way I work. I had a limiting belief that I had to be at the office in order to make money and to run my business. If you want to get more out of your relationship with your kids and you're an entrepreneur, you just got to surrender. And that's what I've done. I've just surrendered. I let go of these limiting beliefs where I can't make money unless I go into the office. I can't get the best out of my team. And you just need to find new ways of doing things. From the age of 14 to 19, I actually ended up living with some family friends in a very toxic environment. There was physical abuse, mental abuse. I was essentially a slave in that household. That negative environment is what led me to actually realize the type of person I want to be. Success for me, time with my family, money to have options, and fulfillment in my work.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Need to Succeed podcast. And like I always say, this podcast is all about bringing on incredible entrepreneurs and just understanding their journeys. Because oftentimes what happens is you get two people who have gone through the exact same situation. One person decides because of that situation, they have to go on to become wildly successful. And the other person decides because of that exact same situation, they can no longer achieve the things that they've always wanted to achieve. Same situation, different outcomes. What is the difference in mindset? That is exactly what we look to uncover on this podcast. And today, we have got an absolutely incredible guest, one of the best marketers in the UK right now. He is the founder of Social Agendas. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Aaron Branch.
There should be a live audience here, bro. I didn't get you at my events. You need to intro me, bro.
Amazing. Honestly, bro, I'm buzzing to have you here, mate. Buzzing.
We kind of just did the podcast before the podcast.
I was just going to say, like, what I've already learned downstairs, I'm super excited for everyone because you're honestly incredible, and I'm going to go and implement a lot of what we just spoken about. So you guys are in for a treat, absolute treat. Awesome. But yeah, once again, thank you for being here, my friend.
You're welcome.
Brilliant. So we have got a tradition on the podcast. Yeah. The very first question is, what does success actually mean to you?
Success for me, time with my family, money to have options, and fulfillment in my work. That's the simplest way I can put it.
Amazing.
Normally I give a long-winded answer, but that is literally what it means to me right now. And I've kind of tried to find that balance over the years. I've been in business 7 years, and it's just figuring out what is actually going to make me feel good, and also how much do I actually need in terms of income to have all bases covered. And that obviously changes when you have kids, when you have more responsibilities, bigger business, more staff, whatever. But it's about finding that balance for me. And if I can have all three of those things as the primary, everything else will come in its due course.
That's amazing. I think we're just talking downstairs actually about what success really looks like to this new generation.
Yes,
it used to be something that was clearly just defined before. 10 years ago, it's just money.
Yeah,
how much money you've got. But now it's like, well, actually, quality of life. Freedom. You just mentioned family and all this type of thing. So it's well, how much of that am I willing to balance? If I can make X amount and be completely stressed or not have as much freedom, or I can make a little bit less and have more time and freedom, then
or a lot less.
Yeah,
or a lot less. Being a father changes your life. You know that firsthand. And one thing that changed for me straight away was how much time I could actually sacrifice and commit to my passion, which is growing a business and taking over the world. What I mean, as an entrepreneur. And once you have kids, you realize quickly, okay, there are other priorities other than just me and my business. I put my business before everything. I put it before my relationship with my partner, which got hard at times. A lot of sacrifice in time. I'll spend 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. in the office and be really excited about that idea of not leaving until I feel like we've accomplished something big that day. But then once you have kids and you become a parent, you have to become more efficient, and you have to also have that balance, because I'm not the kind of person who wants to look back in 10 years and say, oh, wow, I didn't get to spend as much time in the development of my most important investment, my children. And that's something that I think for most parents is a big priority, and you don't know it until you get it. And with my first child, I tried to balance both. I tried to do 110% CEO, 110%. Well, to be honest, 40% parent, and lumped a lot of it on my partner. But quickly you realize that doesn't work. And there's no bigger priority for me than my children. So, you know, that means a lifestyle change. That also means understanding what you're willing to sacrifice and what you're not willing to sacrifice. And for me, there was a big moment, and you know, I've spoken about this to a lot of parents. But I remember coming home from the office. You know, I'd get home about 6 if I left the office at 5. You know, and I remember coming home from work, and my son hadn't really seen me. I'll spend an hour with him. He goes to bed at 7 p.m. So I'll do the bath routine. You know, he's already eaten, whatever. And I just remember that one day I came back and he wasn't excited to see me. And I was just like, you know, hey, you know, you want your kids to run up to you, you want them to embrace you. But he wasn't excited to see me because he barely sees me. He sees me 2 days a week and an hour a day. And that was when I was like, I didn't even say this to my partner because she would have just been like, I told you so. And none of us want to hear that, right? But at that moment, I was like, nah, this ain't it. Like, my son is my son. And obviously I didn't have a daughter at the time. But when I get home from anywhere, our bond has to be so tight that it's like you're seeing your best friend again. And that's where we're at again today. So it's, again, knowing what you're willing to sacrifice and not sacrifice. And parenthood for anybody changes the game.
Wow, honestly, man, when you said that, like, that hit me here, because I know that feeling when you just open the door and they just come wobbling towards you, and you're like, it's the best feeling. And to have that, because there was clearly, you know, you clearly realized it in that moment. So I'm just in there with you and thinking, how would I feel if that was to happen? So I know exactly what you're saying, my man. We're there now, so let's go there, right? Let's go there. And just understand, how do you, because for a normal parent, you know, it's kind of difficult enough, you know, working a 9 to 5, coming home and you're knackered and, you know, you've still got to spend time with the kids. But as an entrepreneur, you know, you're there, but you have to still think about work. When you're doing 9 to 5, you can come back and switch off. But as an entrepreneur, you go home, you still have to think about work. You've probably still got work to do. You know, you bring it home from the office. So how do you balance of that work-life relationship?
Equation, for me, I've had to change the way I live and the way I work. So I had a limiting belief that I had to be at the office in order to make money and to run my business. And it was part limiting belief, but part excuse that I could leave the house and go enjoy myself for a day. Because quite honestly, when I went back to the office, I had a couple of months off when my son was born. And it's been much smoother with my daughter because I've been through it once. But now I work from home a lot more. But previously, I would never work from home because I'd say, it doesn't get the best out of me. I'm not, you know, efficient. I'm not productive as I would be if I went to the office. And this is an excuse a lot of us entrepreneurs make so that we can actually have the freedom to do what we want. And in those first months of having my son, after going back to work, I'd go to work and I'd put YouTube on. You know what I mean? I'm on holiday. I've got a break. I don't need to worry about his sleep schedule, his nap schedule, his food schedule. I can literally get to the office, whack on a video, and for the first hour, do absolutely nothing but enjoy myself. And look, at the end of the day, that's not sustainable. So now, if you're a parent and you're looking to actually, you know, balance this equation a bit more than you already are, the advice I would give is give in, surrender. This is not going to get easier. If you're a parent, you have to be in a place where your children are accessible. We have an amazing setup where we have help. So we've got a cleaner that comes around twice a week. We've got a dog walker who comes down 3 days a week. We've got family close by, Holly's family, who assist. You know, that whole concept of it takes a village to raise a child, I still believe massively, or a tribe to raise a child. You need support. And if, you know, I feel sorry for a lot of the parents who have to do it on their own. And I don't know how single parent households even survive. Of course, they survive and they thrive in a lot of circumstances, but it's so hard, even with 2 of you and a crew around, that if you're on your own, I just couldn't imagine how hard that is. So for me, if you want to get more out of your relationship with your kids and you're an entrepreneur, you've just got to surrender. And that's what I've done. I've just surrendered. I let go of these limiting beliefs where I can't make money unless I go into the office. I can't get the best out of my team unless I go into... You just need to find new ways of doing things and accept this is what you did in those 30 seconds decisions of your life. This is what you've created for yourself. Even less in most circumstances.
15.
Peak performance.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great answer, but it's something I know a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with. It's something that I struggle with, right? So that was,
I'm
just
still
purely-
struggling.
Yeah, from a selfish point of view, I wanted to actually know, like, how do you do that? Because it's something I struggle with.
It's tough. It's
Yeah.
tough. There's no easy answer. There's no perfect equation. The real thing that gets me is you don't know the impact that you're going to have on your children, like we were talking about earlier, until they're older. So what's, we had a guest speaker called Del Jeffers who was talking about the REM part of your brain and how that develops. And it's
What's
like a
REM?
sponge. I have no fucking idea. Remedial electromagnetic.
Google.
I don't know. Hey, that's what we have. Hey, chat GPT.
Yeah, chat. Yeah,
Write me a
even
book
better.
on REM. It might not even be REM. Anyway, he spoke at our event and he's all about mindset. And he was talking about how before the age of 7, your brain is like a sponge, and it's not in your consciousness that you'll see, it's in your subconscious mind, which affects all of your child's behaviors, how they respond to challenges, difficulties, how they celebrate, when they have a small win, whatever it is. And you don't know what that impact of your behavior to your child is going to be until they grow up and they can express their own behaviors without you obviously leading and influencing them. So for me, none of us know. I'm not sitting here with a track record of, teenage children that know, oh yeah, dad did some good stuff and mom did some good stuff with us when we were young. That's why we feel good now when we're doing stuff in the world. I don't have that. All you can hope for is that giving your time, giving them structure, and giving them the attention that they need will get them to a place where they're really happy, functioning, fulfilled people in society.
Incredible. Love that. Okay, cool. So let's get into this, because what I love on this podcast is, at the moment, man, you're smashing it. I was just saying to you, I'm seeing your ads everywhere. You're all over the place. But it's easy for people to just see that and say, that's Aaron. He was... Oh, I was gonna give a little bit away then, but you've done some things that people know you from, right?
Yeah.
But that's easy to just look at you on that level, but there's always a journey, right? And for most entrepreneurs, the journey is always a grind, right? So I really want to understand, who you were, as young as possible, to how you've actually become who you are today and what that journey actually looks like, right? And there's normally, there's normally like a point, when you were young or whatever, maybe it's an experience, something you remember or something that you did that kind of switched or changed your viewpoint and the way you actually view life today. Do you remember any moment from, what was the youngest point that you think something happened that really kind of shaped who you are today?
That's a big question, bro. If I just go straight off the top and see what thought comes straight into mind, the thought that changed my entrepreneurial journey from the youngest age I can remember was probably selling. From an entrepreneur point of view, I used to get the felt tips that you get in school, right? I'd take the ink cartridge out of them, which was like a spongy substance. It was very messy.
Texture, yeah.
I'd take that out and I'd sell them for £1. Because what people would do is they'd use them in school, they'd grab it, they'd squeeze it, and they'd ink blot someone's back, right? So I'd sell them for £1. Everybody wanted them because everyone was just attacking each other with these. I started making money, and then what I started doing was stealing felt tips. That's what I started doing. Free stock. I literally sitting there at a desk, pull the drawer open, big bag of felt tip
100% prof.
I got to be honest with you guys, it wasn't all legit. But I started, selling stuff in school. There was really nothing like business minded about it. It was just like pocket money. You know what I mean? I washed cars as a kid. It was only my neighbor's car. This really great guy called Ivan. He's passed away now. But Ivan used to let me wash his car. He'd never go anywhere. He was quite old. So he had this little red Peugeot 106. And I'd knock his door like every day to wash his car. And he'd be like, pay me £3, bro. And he'd be like, Aaron, you need to actually go and sell it to someone else. And I never had the courage.
Your business.
I never had the courage. He was a referral from my mom anyway. So I never had the courage to do that. So I just pester him to wash his car. But those were kind of the young entrepreneurial activities that I did just to make a little bit of pocket money. Beyond that, you talk about the journey. From the age of 14 to 19, I actually ended up living with some family friends in a very toxic environment. There was physical abuse, mental abuse. I was essentially a slave in that household. I've had therapy about this because, you know, what becomes normalized to you in a toxic environment, you don't even realize is normalized to you. You know, that subconscious programming. But that was ultimately, that negative environment is what led me to actually realize the type of person I want to be, the type of person I definitely don't want to be. And if you're thinking about development of your character, often it's times where you just think, okay, if I don't do X, Y, Z, I'll be a better person. It's not always about doing more. It's about doing less of what makes you, you know, less of a positive person in your own life and your own self-image, right? So 19, managed to get myself out of that situation. I got myself a scholarship to go to America to play basketball. My whole 16 to 19 years of age was all about how do I get the hell out of here? My dad wasn't there, estranged from my mom at the time through this toxic environment. And that's when I thought, you know what, if I get a basketball scholarship, nobody can stop me from going.
So
and
for 3 years, you had this thought kind of going through your mind. And so when you moved at 14, was the physical and mental abuse, was that something that was immediate?
It was very, very subtle. So a lot of people will be familiar with the term grooming, right? There was, now I look back on it and I look at myself at the age at which these people were, right? And then I think, how the hell could they have done this to me and my brother, right? They were put in a position of trust, but it was a very steady grooming and influencing and persuading kind of nature, where, you know, we'd get trainers, we'd get clothes, you know, luxury items, you know, an Armani top at the time. I don't wear that brand anymore, but you get an Armani hand-me-down, it's a £150 top, you know what I mean? And you're wearing it around casually, and you feel good about it when you go to the temple or when you go to your cousin's house. You've got all the latest stuff. But then slow but steady, that then turned into influence, where, can you do me a favor? You know, this phrase, can you do me a favor, is such a triggering phrase for me. When somebody, if anybody in my life asked me, can you do me a favor? This was the pretense of, can you do me a favor, to do everything and anything. And it's crazy to even say this, right? But it's come to a point, it's taken me 10 years to even talk about this, but it's come to a point where I'm grateful, that in that environment, we weren't sexually abused, because that's probably the only thing that didn't happen to us. Just got our heads kicked in, got a few nice things to show for it, had this, you know, this whole environment where, you know, these guys were, you know, renowned, had respect, blah, blah, blah. So there was this allure, you know, going out to clubs at 16 years old, seeing this life, you know what I mean, this glamorized lifestyle. And it was all just programming me to say, this is not who I want to be. This is not where I want to be. And then when I had the opportunity to join a basketball academy at 16, it was I barely played basketball before that age, just in school. But I was like, you know what? If I do everything in my power to get good enough at this, I can get the hell out of here. And by 19, I did it. And I was on a plane to the other side of the world.
Wow, incredible.
And I never went back.
Yeah.
So I touched down every summer, and I never went back.
Wow.
I don't know what they did with all my stuff, but all that portion of my life, all my journals, you know, I used to write journals, my books, my clothes, it's all gone.
At which point did you realize that, okay, this is grooming, or this is actually abuse?
When I was getting my head kicked in.
Good point, good observation.
No, this ain't right, man. No, you know what it was? It was at a point, I make a joke about it. That's actually a coping mechanism. I actually have disassociated myself. So through therapy, right, I've got this app called BetterHelp where it links you up with therapists. I only started about 6 months ago. You know, once or twice a month, you talk about things. And it's only as a parent now where I feel like I have to heal from this. I have to work my way through this. I've ignored it. Maybe it's a part of the reason why I started business. Keep myself so busy, I don't have to deal with these emotions, right? But it was like there was cues and there was points where we were in a position where my dad lived with his brother. Parents had a divorce. Dad lived with his brother. It was quite far out, so they were central Birmingham, right? And it was like we were sold a dream, kind of like what I mean, we did have a good time. Don't get me wrong. This is the problem with abuse. People think it's like 100% you're locked in a cellar getting your head kicked in. It's not. The abuse comes with the enjoyment. So, you know, there's very vivid memories. Obviously, some can't be spoken about publicly. But, you know, one time playing PlayStation. Got back from college, so I'd do 2 sessions, the junior session and the men's session, right? So I didn't have to go back home until 10 p.m. So I could stay out of that house, which means I don't have to do jobs, I don't have to do chores, which is obviously not going to rub them up the right way.
Well, yeah.
We're just housing this guy for nothing. And I'd get back, do the chores, clean the kitchen, do the laundry for a household of 6. Not just talking about doing the laundry, wash the clothes, fold the clothes, put the clothes away. I think about asking my kids to do something like that now. It's like, what the hell? No, you don't have to do it just because you're my child. You know what I mean? You don't have to do all these household chores if you don't want to. You should want to contribute. That's the way to develop someone. Help them understand the value it adds, not force them to do it. And if they don't, you know, physically abuse them, you know, as a defenseless child. And I got back, forced to play PlayStation. I was pretty good at PlayStation. It was really the only thing I could do to get a win in that environment, as in, you know, these guys were very competitive. And if I beat them, it would really affect them. But I didn't want to play that day because I was exhausted. So I'm like, I don't want to play. I played. I won. This guy, you know, threw the pad against the wall. Obviously, I'm laughing because I'm happy I've won, and I know it's going to get to him. Then he stands up, turns around, and just starts laying into me. Just literally laying into me, right? Punch after punch. This is a full-grown man who is in very good athletic shape. You know what I'm saying? And he's beating down on a 16-year-old skinny little basketball player for winning a game of FIFA. That's when you realize, you know, the trigger moments. I need to get the hell out of here. You know, I told my dad about it. Dad didn't want to do nothing about it. You know, talked about discipline. Gave me all of these reasons why I should endure and be resilient in this environment. And I listened to him, which I wish I never did, but I did out of respect for my dad. But yeah, ultimately, there's a million stories like that where it was like, yo, I need to get the hell out of here.
So at this point, when you find out you've actually got the scholarship, like, how are you feeling?
Bro, I cried for at least an hour, you know, and I boarded that flight. My dad dropped me off at the airport. What song was it? There was a song I was playing on my iPod at the time, on my phone, whatever it was. I can't remember the song, but I just remember crying. I was writing in a journal, obviously talking to myself about what I'm going to do and what I'm leaving behind. Like, it's not easy. It was part crying out of relief, I've done it. I've managed to get out of this situation. And it was part crying because to get that relief, I've had to leave all my friends and family behind, all my existing relationships, to go to a foreign land. That's the sacrifice on my own at 19 years old.
At this point as well.
You know what I mean? And it's not no doom and gloom story in my view. But one thing I realized, a lot of people who endure abuse in their childhood, they'll disassociate themselves. So what I used to do with my therapist on these calls, where I'd say, who could do that to a 16-year-old? And just the use of that subtle language, it's actually, Aaron, it wasn't to a 16-year-old, it was to you. That's who, you know, who could do that to me is the actual phrase that's going to help you heal out of this. And you do it out of coping to get out of that mindset because you don't want to see yourself as a victim. And that was something as well. You know, people who need therapy that have suffered abuse, they're not victims, they're survivors. And that's another thing that just changes your mindset, where actually I can talk about this stuff because I survived it. It's not something that's still happening to me now because of my life choices. But equally, there's a million people out there right now in relationships, children, adults, who get the abuse with the reward. And often the reward isn't good enough to sustain the abuse. And for anybody who's experiencing that, BetterHelp, man, amazing app, can help you, you know, speak about those issues.
Why do you think that people who are abused don't tend to talk about it?
because that victim mindset, it can come across like attention seeking. It can come across as vulnerability in a world which is so scathing, right? How can somebody who's been a survivor of an experience talk about it publicly, which right now is social media predominantly, without getting both sides of that equation? Often it can lead to more abuse. The dog in a litter of a kennel who's just whimpering in the corner is going to get attacked by the other dogs. Because in the nature of humanity, you show weakness, people are going to come for it. So perhaps that's the reason why people who've suffered abuse don't like speaking about it, because they fear it's going to bring on more abuse.
Wow.
But I don't have that fear because I'm a boss.
I love that, bro. But also there's something that you've mentioned a few times now, and I know this because you've actually posted a picture of, a page in your diary. On your social media, right? Yeah. But it seems like this is something you've been doing forever. You mentioned even when I asked about when you were young, 14, 15, 16, you said, I've got loads of diaries that I left there. So what is this? When did you start writing a diary and why?
It was a journal. It actually started because my dad, very spiritual, religious, been estranged from him for a while now. But when I was growing up, the one thing I could bond with my dad was religion. So Sikhism is the religion and my background. And my dad refused to work after his divorce, family politics, all this other stuff. But he basically decided not to work and fully commit himself to the religion. From that, obviously me and my brother were with him, going to the temple, going to the Gurdwara, doing seva, which is selfless service every weekend. So, we'd be participating a lot in religious activities. And I'd start having these really vivid dreams. I'd meditate a lot for a kid of that age. I'd sit there for half an hour a day. I'd do that in that environment post 14. Again, it was a checkout. Where's Aaron? He's meditating. Can't say nothing to him. He's practicing religion. The kitchen can wait. I'm saying? FIFA can wait. So I had all these, these little mechanisms to get me out of stuff. But the journaling came from writing down your dreams. So my dad was like, write down your dreams. And the more I started writing my dreams down and actually trying to remember what did I dream about, and immediately getting it down before it fades, the more vivid my dreams became, which then led me later on in life to try and start practicing lucid dreaming, which is where you can control your dreams, which takes a lot of practice, which I did later on from, journaling my dreams.
Incredible. And what would you say has been like the power of, journaling to you?
I think it's just that ability to look back, that ability to express yourself. It's kind of like therapy. You can look at what you're feeling, the ups and downs. Often you won't journal until you feel like you need to journal and get things out. Stuff that you can be 100% honest with your journal and it's not going to judge you unless someone reads it that So, you don't want to be talking about your missus in your journal and then leaving it around the house. You know what I'm saying? You keep that at work or whatever.
Foot knocks. You have to lock that up.
Don't let that happen. Which actually happened, by the way. I was in Australia and I was writing a journal. We went traveling for 6 months and she picked up the journal and started reading about herself. Damn. But yeah, it's powerful.
All good things.
Yeah, all positive. But yeah, it was something that started from my dreams.
Amazing. I feel like journaling for me is almost like self-therapy.
Yeah.
Because every single day you come out, you dump your thoughts and it's no longer just in here. It's not written out on paper and you analyze it more. If it's in here, you can't actually collect it all. But once you start writing it out, you can analyze it, you can deal with it, and then you move on. And I just feel like every single day being able to do that is almost like self-therapy in a way.
100%. I recommend it a lot. I don't do it every day, but I often find myself reaching for my journal when things are either really good or really bad.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Okay, cool. So how long were you in America for?
I was in Canada for 1 year at a prep school, and then I was in America for 2 years.
How was that?
Lonely.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people see the scholarship lifestyle as the glitz and glamour you see on Netflix. Last Chance U is a basketball program on Netflix right now. It's a junior college. I was at a junior college. I was the only foreign player from outside of North America on the team. I was also the only non-black player on the team. We all lived in one house. Naturally, you're going to feel like an outsider. You don't understand cultural context of being American. And it's like, these guys, they come from the same environments. They come from the same challenges. You know, I was near Chicago, which has a massive murder rate. A lot of these guys, I remember coming back from a practice on the evening, and one of the team members had missed the practice. And they used to love this thing in America, putting red bulbs in the rooms and like blue bulbs to just change the vibe for like house parties and stuff. But the red bulb was in. I was like, it's not a party night. You know what I mean? House parties were the thing like 3-4 times a week. And it's not a party night. And get back, everyone's drinking, but no one's partying. So I'm like, something weird's going on here. Turns out my teammate, his name was Aaron as well. His brother had just been killed due to gun violence, just been shot down in Chicago. And this was like a thing that would happen a lot. I can't relate to that. You know, I've got, you know, he's there, you know. I remember as well, it's just a vivid memory. They used to love drinking. They don't do chasers in America, right? They don't drink alcohol with a mixer, right? So no chaser.
Oh.
If you have that, you're feminine in
Go
this
hard or
basketball.
go home.
Yeah. So they would buy these 2-liter bottles of Bacardi rum. Now, I come from a Punjabi background. You know, there's a lot of drinking, unfortunately, in Punjabi culture. So I've seen and felt, you know, at weddings and stuff, we're drinking raw shots or whatever. But they poured me a shot. It was like a quarter of the cup. Everyone's drinking it like it's nothing. I remember drinking it. It was after training, empty stomach. And I drank it and I immediately puked up. And I couldn't show them that I was puking up because there's weakness, right? So I was like... all over the carpet.
Oh.
It was dark with this red bulb, yeah. And then the rest of it, yeah, throughout the next hour, whilst we're mourning this guy's, you know, brother who's passed away, they're just spilling it on the carpet in someone's room. And that was like, you know, one experience of many where you just can't relate to someone who, you know, thank God I haven't got many friends or any friends whose brother's been shot dead in the street.
Yeah.
And they all had similar, not all of them, but most of them had similar stories from the hood that they came from. Because we were close to Chicago, a lot of recruitment came out of Chicago. Basketball culture is massive in Chicago. It's like, it's the number one thing that everyone's doing of that age range. So like, it was hard to adjust to that as a British player who's well behind in skill, well behind in athleticism, all of these different factors that made it hard to feel like you fit in or that you can even trust and relate to someone on a level. And luckily I had a small group of my team, all 3 years that I was out in Canada and America, that, you know, you build close relationships with. But, you know, it wasn't what you might think is advertised.
Yeah, incredible. Yeah, because, you know, you kind of go out there and you realize, this is a dream that I'm trying to chase. But it's like any other journey, right? It's not going to be easy, especially if you're trying to get into the NBA. I'm assuming you were trying to get into the NBA.
That dream died the day I stepped foot on the court in North America. I played with, my first thing in Canada was this camp. Andrew Wiggins, who went as a number 1 draft pick in the NBA, was there. Anthony Bennett, who went as a number 1 pick in the NBA draft, was there. Nick Stauskas was a Canadian player who was there, who's in the NBA right now. Tyler Ennis was the son of the dad who picked me up from the airport to take me to the camp. These are like all-stars. Not in the NBA, but at that age range, they were the best of the best. 2 of them were draft picks. You step on the court with these guys, they're moving in ways you've never seen. Like, you've never seen players so good. And I remember Anthony Bennett, right, this athletic beast on the court, had his backpack on. I could barely jump, right? I'm Indian. What do we play? Cricket. We don't jump. You know what I'm saying? I'm watching him, right? I'm knackered. 2 full days of back-to-back camp. It's a recruitment camp. And I've never played so much basketball in my life. Anthony Bennett, he's walking off. He's got a full tracksuit, sliders on, a rucksack on his back with all his gear in. He's warmed down. He's leaving the gym. The ball rolls to him as he's walking past the basket. No word of a lie, this guy picks up the ball in his sliders and two-handed dunked the ball flush. Bro, I can't even do that. fully warm, ready for a game. I can't even do that the same way he's just done it with all this gear on. And that was a pivotal moment. I'm like, yo, this ain't happening.
This ain't for me.
No, it's for me, but the NBA is not happening. It's just, I just saw it right there.
Yeah.
These guys have been playing since 3 years old. What are we doing at 3 years old? Kicking footballs around? You know what I mean? So that was my realization that, actually, I'm well behind.
Yeah, but that's incredible because you were still there for 3 years altogether, right? So it's not, the light didn't just go off. You still.
Well, look, I came back to London. I got a scholarship to play basketball at LSBU. So I traded a good deal for what I felt was a better deal.
Yeah.
And I came and played in London for 3 years for the Brixton Top Cats.
Nice.
And then I went to a camp, got recruited, got pro offers. Again, the moment I realised basketball wasn't for me was we had this guy come down to this camp in Barcelona. He was like, what's the minimum you'll play for? He said that to the whole 15, 20 players that were in the camp. I was like, well, I've just graduated uni. $2,000 a month is like a basic graduate salary in the UK. I'm thinking about this economically, but it's a buyer's market because there's so little players to teams in Europe in basketball. I said that. He's like, okay, he's writing it all down. He's been with us for 2 days, this coach. He's been taking our measurement, our hand, our palm width, all this shit. So everyone's engaged, like, this guy's serious. He's paying the most attention to us. And then on the last day, he asks us, what's the minimum you're going to play for? And then this Polish guy next to me, this point guard, who wasn't that talented, said, straight after I said the biggest amount, I was like 10th in the line. I was like, yeah, $2,000. No one else had asked for anything so ridiculous in that gym. I'm like, I could scrub toilets and get $2,000 in the UK. Let's be real.
Yeah.
And this point guard said, I'll play for free, straight after I asked for the biggest amount. And that's when I realised again, holy fuck. How can I compete with free? How am I supposed to compete with this guy who wants to play for free because all he's got in his life is basketball? He doesn't have a brain or an education or a skill set other than bouncing a ball and putting it in a hoop. I can't compete with that. So then I got my pro offers. The best one I got was €650 a month.
Wow.
With all expenses
This is
paid.
in England?
No, that's in Europe.
In Europe,
I had offers for Regional Liga, Germany. I had all the lowest leagues basically to start your career. And I remember messaging a guy who's Team GB captain now. He's from Birmingham, Miles Hessen. Just won the Commonwealth Games this year, or the last Commonwealth Games. Won gold in our hometown of Birmingham and hit a buzzer beater to win it. This is my guy. Like, we grew up playing against each other. And I remember at the time, he'd been pro for like 2 years. His career has been phenomenal, like unreal, but his talent was also phenomenal. And he said, yeah, bro, I played my first year for free. And again, I was just devastated when I heard that. So I was like, I got a deal for $650. He's like, take it. I was like, I can't leave and go to a foreign speaking country, for €650 a month. And it comes down to this principle that I have in business. You always get the respect you walk through the door with. You walk through the door saying you're a $650 a month guy. You're never going to be a $6,500 a month guy to that client or that employer, that organization. So if you're going so low, you're only going to get so high.
Wow.
So you might as well start high and go higher. And if you don't get anything, great. At least people know and respect what you are and what you're saying your value in the market is.
Where did that confidence come from, though?
Desperation. Desperation. You got nothing to lose. You know what I mean? It's like, move me and my partner to what's she gonna do? She's got a great sales job as a manager at Vodafone. What's she gonna do in Germany? Teach English. Who the hell wants to teach English in a foreign country other than Dubai? You know what I mean? Some small town in Germany eating schnitzels. So for me, it's like there's no other option. So I got a job in recruitment. 3 months later, quit that, started my agency.
Wow. So hang on. You went into recruitment, did that for 3 months.
Yeah.
Why did you quit?
I've just got these pivotal moments. It sounds so funny hearing them back. I quit because my mentor, Chaddy, unbelievable mentor. I was doing cybersecurity. At a hot time, Vodafone just got hacked. All these big company databases were getting slapped with hackers. So we were doing information security, cyber security. So we were recruiting positions in that market in Canary Wharf.
Nice.
I was wearing suits every day, thinking I'm a banker. I was not a banker. You're around bankers and employees every day, the 9 to 5ers. But my mentor was Chaddy. He taught me how to do an amazing amount of business, how to build a network, how to speak to clients, how to get deals on the table. Really grateful for his mentorship. But then when the deal came, I got a placement for a company called Rico Europe, 60 or 70 grand salary. My first placement, it's a big deal. Obviously, they get 10, 15, 20% fee on top of the salary. Fat wedge of commission coming my way. You know what I mean? So then I get home. The deal's gone through, you know, my name's on the leaderboard in the office. Everyone's celebrating, like 30 people in the office celebrating my big win. And it said 5 grand commission for me on the board. Like my billing is 5 grand on the leaderboard. And then when I got home, I got a call from him to say, hey, just to let you know, really happy for you getting your first deal on the line, but you're still in your probation. And that means that you're only getting £150 and they called it a victory lunch. Now, if you work a 9 to 5, you've probably come across victory lunches in any kind of sales or recruitment role.
Wow.
So you're going to take me to Nando's and give me 150 quid of a 5 grand commission?
I'll take you to Nando's. Just give me the 5 grand.
Yo, give me the money. We'll split it. You know what I mean? What do we need to do here? Let's think bigger. This guy wasn't having it, and he told me that. My heart sank. It was like all that pain of those 3 months. Yeah, like I'd walk to the office from Poplar. It was a 40-minute walk every morning to save money.
Wow.
You know, I was getting paid dog shit for the hours I was putting in, because in that market back then, I don't know what it is right now for all the recruiters, but recruitment in Canary Wharf back then, you're in a privileged position. That's what your employer leads you to believe, and I would have to work, you know, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. If you leave, you know, it's mad. When you're leaving your 9 to 5 in that environment, it was like a survival of the fittest. Like the first person after 5 p.m. to go to the cabinet and get their coat out, everyone would be like, oh, no, yeah, you're brave. Go, be free, live a life outside of this office. And then slowly people will start picking up and if you're the new people,
crazy,
you're leaving last. If you don't leave last, it's going to be frowned upon. So your manager would leave at 4:30, and then after that, you're thinking, okay, when can I leave? When can I leave? Anyway, when he told me that, I was like, bro, I'm not coming back in. My partner was down in London with me. She left her Vodafone role as a manager there, which was a great income. We were living in a 5-bed house share in Poplar with 4 strangers. This woman used to cook a tray of sausages every flipping Saturday, stink the whole house out, yeah. It's just such a vivid memory of waking up to like smoke from sausages. And I don't know why she'd do it to this day. Like, who batch produces and cooks sausages? I don't know. Do you?
Weekly.
You know what I mean? No one does. Could be vegan, any sausages. It doesn't matter. She'd do this, and we'd just be like, what the hell is going on? Sharing our bathroom with strangers. You know, you see their hair in the bath. It's just gross. We were like, this is not our standard. You know, the confidence you talked about, it's not just desperation. It's like having a standard for yourself. Why are we putting ourselves through this? Why are we just living this London corporate dream, trying to climb the ladder, spending everything we earn, getting shitted on with our commissions, walking 2 hours a day? Like, what is this? This is the Western work culture. We've got to have a higher value than this. So told him I'm not coming back, ended the tenancy and dipped out.
Amazing. There is something that you're always jovial about it, right? Yeah. But there's something that I've noticed, which is there's actually a huge amount of innate confidence in a lot of the things that you've done. Yeah. Right? And this is a trait that every successful entrepreneur has. So I'm trying to understand where that comes from, because you left that job, which, you know, forget everything else that's happened. Nonetheless, you have built 5 grand. Now they're doing what corporates do. They don't want to pay you. They're being assholes. Like, I get it. But you can do that again next month. You can do that again the other month. Yeah. So there is money kind of on the table. And don't get me wrong, I'm very principled. I would have probably done what you've done. Don't get me wrong. But nonetheless, you say, you know what, screw this. I'm just going to go and start my own business. Yeah. Once again, you're starting with nothing. You're leaving something that could potentially make you thousands of pounds a month. Like, security, why do you feel that you have the ability to execute on that?
I think it comes, you know what, there's two main reasons why I have the confidence I have. Number one is a spiritual confidence. You know, meditating, Sikhism, selfless service, communicating with a faith that you feel is in your favor. You know, the good deeds that I've done or the people I've helped, forget business, like just being a decent person, looking out for people is something I've always done. And from that, you get this confidence that, you know what, good things are coming to me. Not because I deserve them, but just because I'm attracting them. It's your energy. You know, my daughter's name is Aura, energy.
Also,
You know what I'm saying? So you put out the energy you attract. I've always tried to put out good energy, even in those really negative circumstances. People who hear this now, who were on my team back in college, never knew what I was going through at the time. They hit me up after hearing stuff like this and be like, whoa, you were like the happiest, most fun guy on the court. You know what I mean? Until the whistle went, and then I was the dirtiest player on the court. But in the timeouts, I had some jokes, you know. Yeah. On the way to the game, I was fun. But like, there's that spiritual confidence. You attract the energy you are. Good things are coming to me. I just feel it. I believe it. I believe in God. I believe in the universe and energy. So much so that obviously I've named my daughter Aura and Energy. And then the second thing is basketball. Without basketball. In basketball, it's a team sport, but it's the most individual game because you're judged not just on your team winning, but what your individual statistics are. Now, if you play amateur football, if you play semi-pro football, you'll get your assists and your goals. You might get your headers and you wear a vest, how much you've ran on the pitch. In basketball, you get your points, rebounds, steals, assists, fouls, free throws made, free throws missed, shots made, shots missed, 3 points made, 3 points missed. Like, you are scrutinized in every category of your play.
Interesting.
And you also obviously have the stuff that doesn't come up on the stat sheet, which is how vocal you are on the court. Now, because I wasn't that good for the most beginning of my career, how do I get an advantage over these other guys who are better than me? I can talk more than them. So when I'm on the floor, people feel like there's more presence. So I was always barking on the court. You couldn't shut me up. Defense, help, right, screen come in. You know what I mean? Like, all of these things to help my team raise up. And I did that on every single team I played for. So that's something that adds value that doesn't come up on the stat sheet, but you'll get playing time because you have a presence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So with that kind of scrutiny in basketball as a sport, you also have to have this ridiculous amount of confidence because as a basketball player, you can't score unless you shoot. If you're shit at shooting, you're not going to take shots in a logical world. But in basketball, to advance your career, you're going to have to be shit and still shoot the ball to hopefully make one and get to the next stage of your career. So you have to have this absurd amount of confidence to do well in a sport like that. And you have to back yourself even when you don't believe it. So you talk about manifestation, right? I'm going to hit 20 points this game. I'm going to go for 20 points this game. My skill level is the worst across both teams, my opponents and my own team. It's illogical. But if you can get 10 points, you're closer to it. And again, you can apply that to life. You behave in the way in which you want to be received. In business, basketball, life, it's all the same. If you come into something lacking confidence, you go on stage, do some public speaking, and your body language says, I'm not confident in what I'm delivering, or I don't believe in it. You have to believe in yourself more than anybody else.
100%.
And even if you're saying absolute rubbish, people still pay attention, and they might not agree with you, but they'll respect what you said because you believe in it so much.
Powerful.
And that's the world we live in. People, they can disagree as much as they want, but ultimately they'll still respect your beliefs.
That's a powerful and so true as well. Like, just saying a lot of things with confidence just changes. We could say the exact same thing, and you could say that in a really monotone way, a way that, shows a lot of, there's no self-belief in that you're lacking something. Or
Insecurity.
Someone else says the same insecurity. Someone else says the same thing, exactly the same thing, with a lot more positivity, a lot more energy, a lot more confidence, and they're perceived in two completely different ways. Same words, but two different perceptions. So I know exactly what you mean. So you start your agency. Like, first of all, why did you decide to start an agency? Why didn't you go into a recruitment business?
Had a conversation. My partner's mate from the Midlands, her partner was living close by in Poplar. He was working on a yacht business. He was also managing 3 social media profiles in that industry, posting images and videos on Instagram, 7 years ago. I had a conversation with him at his place, and he's like, I'm getting paid $1,000 a month per profile. And I looked at him, and I looked at what I knew about social media from my degree and what I did in my university. And I was like, yo, you're getting paid double what I'm getting paid as a basic salary. and you post images and videos. I need to look into this. That was it. His name's Sean Brown, absolutely flying. He's got his own agency doing web stuff, developing apps, all that stuff. He actually worked for Stephen Bartlett as his head of talent. So he managed all the influencers at Social Chain when Stephen was still there. So very talented guy.
Okay.
Paths just crossed at the right time.
Incredible.
I knew I was going to do something with social media, but I had no validation of this kind of opportunity until he showed me. And it was just, again, you look at the energy, man, the spiritual principles. You get the right thing at the right moment that triggers your brain and you're like, whoa, that's what I need to do. And it's just not something that you can convince yourself. It's something that you just feel. You know what I mean? And, you know, there's a part of it which you feel is like destiny. You know, I'm meant to do this.
Wow.
Like, you know, one of my biggest case studies in my business, it used to be like how much we spend on ads and whatever we do with that. 8 businesses have gone on to exit and sell shares because of how much I've helped scale their business up. Obviously, with all their energy and effort.
Yeah.
We take a small piece of the credit. They're set for life. They're my best friends. Like, I could call them anytime. I could call them at 2 a.m. and say, pick me up from London. They're probably going to pick up the phone and help me out. You know what I mean? Those are the things, like, if I didn't have that conversation with him, I would never have helped them and changed that and changed my own life. And, you know, there's too many different variables that align in the right way to say it's anything other than either destiny or the other word is luck. And almost every successful person, whether they like it or not, has to lean in on the element of luck that goes with the grind.
Why do people not trust social media trainers?
Social media what?
Trainers.
Why don't they trust social media trainers?
Or coaches, yeah.
Because they're full of shit for 60% of the group. And that isn't based on any stats. Now, you know, social media trainers, I mean, who doesn't trust social media trainers?
I think a lot of times people say they can manage your social media, they can do this, and you can scale from 0 to 10,000 in the space of a week or 2 weeks.
Okay. The reason why I believe people don't trust social media marketers, trainers, people who do it for you, agencies, and the reason I know this firsthand is because they put it on the forms that they submit before they become a client or have the potential to become a client with us, is you have too easy of an access to social media. So anybody with a laptop can say that they're a digital marketer. It's like anybody with a phone can say they're a sales consultant. And because of such easy access, anybody can access Facebook Business Manager or Meta Business Manager and run ads. So now you've got all of these beginners advertising themselves as experts. And when people buy into that and then they get burnt and they lose money, now all of a sudden they're traumatized to a degree. So it means the next 10 marketers they work with, they're probably going to have their guard up and they're probably not going to trust them. And this is one of the questions we ask in the immediate email people get when they inquire. Have you worked with agencies and marketers before? And what was your experience? Because if they come through and they're traumatized, we ain't going to take the blunt of what your other agency did.
I don't want this business.
Yeah, bro. It's because that energy is the wrong energy. You're coming into this, you lost $5,000 with them. They didn't get back to you. They targeted the wrong people. They didn't do what they were saying they were going to do. That wasn't us. And if you can't separate the two, because now everybody in social media marketing is evil or, you know, not who they say they are, we ain't got time for that, because it's not our fault that you went with the wrong agency.
So if I'm new and I'm trying to get through to an agency and I want to get results, I'm broke, I'm trying this, I'm trying to scale up my business, and I'm like, I've got this little bit of money and I want to get my business going. How do I screen an agency to actually make sure I'm working with the right people?
Well, first of all, if you're broke, how are you going to scale an agency or scale a business?
Yep.
That's number one.
Yep.
You know, people are like, oh, you know, I don't have the funds, I don't have the budgets. Go get the budgets. I've raised hundreds of thousands of pounds for businesses. I've sold shares in social agendas. Like, if your idea isn't good enough for anybody else to help you with your idea, first of all, they're either not investing in the idea or they're not investing in you because you're not good enough. So straight away, red flag. Why are you so broke? Why are you so broke? All the decisions that we make equal our net worth at this moment in time. So you've made some either bad decisions or you haven't been going long enough, but you haven't thought outside of the box. Go get a loan. I got a Prince's Trust loan of £4,000 to start social agendas. No Prince's Trust, no Aaron Branch and social agendas, because I needed money just to live.
Wow.
And I bought a camera. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like, if I didn't have that loan, I would have been probably back in another job because I couldn't afford to even put food in my mouth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So again, it's about, you said, how do I screen an agency as a broke entrepreneur trying to scale up? My brother, we're screening you because you are not an ideal customer. I'm not here to try and help broke people be less broke. I'm here to help people with validated ideas, with validated skill sets, go and get more customers because they deserve them, not because they just want them.
Wow. I love that.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
I ain't trying to work with you, bro. Nah, him right there. Yeah, bro, I won't even take the call.
For real. But okay, cool. In general, let's forget the broke part.
I got an answer for the ideal customer.
Yes.
Yeah. So, bro, case studies. Who have you worked with? Testimonials, validated case studies and testimonials. Go and look at that person and then find out what business it was and go and hit them up. We took a business from £20,000 a month in sales over an 18-month period to 1.2 million a month in sales. We put their case study with that headline on and they were inundated with calls for 6 to 8 months. So much so that they called me personally and said, Aaron, pure love for you.
Mate.
Take it down because we get more calls about you helping us, yeah, and what you did for us or the agency did for us than we do new customers. But that goes to prove my point. Go and show your validated results. Go and check the agency has validated results. Number 2, make sure the energy's right with the people you're working with. Are they using even, first of all, their real names? Or is it an abbreviation of their real name? Where's their track record? Where's the results? Are they who they say they are? How long have they been running? But you know what? If you feel like it's not the right fit, it probably ain't the right fit. Just go off your emotion. If you speak to them and you feel like, actually, this is sounding a bit too good to be true. This is sounding a bit too fast in terms of getting results. They're selling me a lot better of a situation than other agencies I've been speaking to. You probably shouldn't sign with them because your intuition is your 100% your greatest guide.
Absolutely. And that makes a lot of sense. I think really case studies, if there's no case study, if these people haven't helped anyone. Now, look, you can be starting out. So, for example, you were starting out new. You know, how were you able to actually instill that confidence into people that your service and product are actually worth it?
Well, I wish I had this pitch, right? I pitched this guy called Lawrence Jones on personal branding. At the time, he was worth like 500 million. He's got a company called UK Fast in Manchester. I was introduced and I went to his office, massive 8-story building. They're doing really well. And I was pitching him on personal branding consulting. And then he asked me the question, how many staff do you have? Oof. And I was like, okay, do I lie or do I tell the truth? Do I lie? Do I tell the truth? I was like, you know what? I can't lie to a person of this much reputation. Like, you're done for life.
You're done.
And I just wouldn't lie anyway. But I wouldn't maybe say. I'll just deflect it or whatever because I was insecure about how big we were at the time. So I told him, I'm like, yeah, we're a team of 4 in-house. And then we've obviously got contractors and people who help out. And I was just so insecure at that moment. But he turned around and he was like, oh, amazing. So you guys could probably communicate with us a lot quicker than these much bigger agencies and get us what we need and get things going a lot faster.
Wow.
And I was like, yeah, 100%.
That's what I was thinking.
Exactly. But that only came like 2-3 years later or 2 years later than when I began. And I wish I had that. And now I tell new agencies who, we coach or mentor or whatever, I'm like, your size is the biggest USP. You don't have to lie and be someone you're not. If that is going to be your first client, right? We don't train people who don't have a client. But if it was somebody who doesn't have a social media client, if that's going to be your first client, tell them. The best reason for you to do this with me is because you're going to be my best and only case study. I've been studying this stuff for 1 month, 3 months, 1 year, 2 years, however long they've been trying to get at it. And if you do this, I'm going to want it to be successful more than you so I can get a track record going and start getting a bigger, client list.
Wow.
It's an advantage. Everything has an angle, so you don't have to be insecure about your starting point. I was lucky. I got good coaching from the 3rd month, made no money for 3 months, got a good coach, and he just opened my whole world up. And And the next week I went and repitched somebody. I pitched on a £300 retainer who said, if it's that cheap, it's not going to get me any results that I'm going to be excited about.
Wow.
I was like, oh shit, I'm too cheap. Like, what am I doing? He taught me how to pitch the service at what it should be, you know, a 2K retainer at the time. And I went and sold that client on a 2K retainer. Because of that commitment from them, they were more committed to, you know, the result that it could provide. So they were more committed to me.
Wow.
And it comes down to that principle. You always get the respect you walk through the door with. You go in there asking for nothing. You know, a lot of people say, I'll do it for free. You know, the problem with people offering their services for free is that I get it every day. You probably get it all the time in your DM. Oh, I can do your edits for you, your short form, whatever, manage your profile. The problem with offering services for free in any business is that you have no accountability to the result, whether it goes good or not. So if you do loads of damage, you're just walking away with nothing. But my brand is forever going to be damaged. So free is not good. You've got no skin in the game.
Absolutely.
You know, actually, you pay me to do that. And if it's good, I'll flip it back to you double. Now, who backs himself to take that deal?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's about being creative and really just backing yourself and what you can do if you can really do it.
Absolutely. I love that, man. Mate, there's so many more things I'd really like to get into, but this has been such an interest, and it's been really good getting to actually understand you a bit more. Like, that's been really, really cool. Really cool. So final question. We've got a tradition on the podcast, which is, mate, you should be proud of yourself, mate.
Thank you.
Know, you've done incredible, and I know this is really just starting for you. There's just so many more levels to go. So amazing. Like, what now, with everything that you've achieved so far, what now remains? Like, what is your need to succeed?
My need to succeed now is just to have purpose. You know, I automated my business at a time where I didn't really have to do much with all my management and all of that. And you kind of lose why you started in the first place, because most of us start because we need money. Then once you achieve a certain income, making more sales in your business doesn't really affect your income because it's not tax efficient to take that money out and pay yourself whatever. So for me, the need to succeed is just making sure I have fulfillment, making sure the security and longevity of my family is taken care of. You know, I need 18 years worth as a minimum of support and resource for my children and whatever they want to create. And that is the most important thing for me right now is, you know, stacking the war chest, I call it. It's just making sure that we are not just secure for the next 2 to 3 years, but we're secure for the next 18 plus. And that's a different mindset. You know, spending, that's a different mindset on what I drive now. You know, I sold my Porsche. Like, sacrifices have to be made again to get to the next level of financial security first and foremost, but second of all, enjoying myself while I get there. Because if we're on a plan and we're hitting that plan or exceeding that plan, there's no need to try and get 10x next month. We don't need to break our backs and sacrifice our mental health just to make money. Wow. That's not the most important.
Wow, beautiful, man.
Yeah.
Aaron Branch, thank you.
Salute! Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. It's been great sharing some of these things. I haven't shared some of this stuff before as well, so I appreciate you having me on.
Incredible. Thank you very much.